Republicans say there is evidence Biden abused his power as vice president to advance his son's business interests in Ukraine. The White House, though, responding, this is, quote, all politics and no evidence. Today, House Republicans met in a closed-door meeting about the impeachment inquiry and whether the government can avoid a shutdown. So far, reports saying Speaker McCarthy does not have enough votes for either. So joining me now, let's bring in Mychael Schell, congressional reporter with our partners at The Hill. Mychael, great to see you. First, let's just start with that. Does the House have enough votes?
Well, look, we're talking about two very politically prickly topics here, Nichole, impeachment and spending, which are ones that pit moderates against conservatives. So, if we take spending first, of course, Congress is coming up on that September 30th government funding deadline. Speaker McCarthy has said that Congress will have to pass a continuing resolution to keep the lights on past that date. But in terms of what that continuing resolution looks like, what policy provisions are in it, how long it'll last, that all remains to be seen. And there hasn't been too many conclusive details released about that. We've been asking leadership. They haven't exactly given us too many details. And that's likely because there are a lot of demands that are being thrown out by these conservative lawmakers who want policy provisions in there. They want extra spending cuts. So there's no real path forward at the moment that we're aware of how McCarthy can, speak to these conservative concerns, but also speak to his moderate members who are hesitant of too many policy cuts. And then, it's got to make it through the Senate, where anything that passes is going to have to be bipartisan. Government funding, a whole issue right there. When you come to the topic of impeachment, McCarthy may not actually have to worry about the votes. In fact, where we are right now, he doesn't have to. Yesterday, he declared the impeachment inquiry open. He directed his committees to start that. So there won't be a vote right now. Now, could there be a vote in the future? Sure, there could be. But right now, there is not. And that's significant because a number of moderates were voicing concerns and were suggesting that they wouldn't actually support a vote to open an impeachment inquiry because a vote isn't actually needed based on the Constitution. McCarthy went about it by himself. There could be a vote down the road, but right now, there doesn't appear to be.
All right. And I also want to talk more about the Senate in just a minute. But first, let's just get to the heart of this matter. Some House Republicans are alleging that Hunter Biden profited in his business dealings with foreign entities, some of them specifically in Ukraine. But is there any tangible, known evidence against President Biden, who was then VP?
Yeah, look, the short answer there is no, Nichole. As you mentioned, Republican lawmakers have pointed out a number of allegations accusing, accusing Hunter Biden of different wrongful acts, but they haven't actually found any evidence, or at least uncovered any evidence, presented it to the public or the media, showing that President Biden financially benefited from Hunter Biden's business dealings. However, I will note that there was a GOP memo put out from Republicans on the House Oversight Committee a few weeks back that actually argued that a direct link financially isn't actually needed to show wrongdoing or to show corruption by the president. So that could be, if you try to get into the mind of some of these Republican lawmakers. But to get back to your question, the short answer is no. However, I will note Republican lawmakers have argued that an impeachment inquiry is needed because they say it'll give Republicans the apex of investigative powers. It'll sort of have more heft in subpoena requests. They'll be able to expand their investigative abilities. So, we'll see if more evidence is uncovered in the weeks and months to come. But right now, no direct link between Hunter Biden and financial benefits of President Biden.
All right, Mychael, before we let you go, like so many things in Washington, does this all come down to political posturing? And I ask that, talking about both sides here, because we certainly know McCarthy wants to keep his position as Speaker, but we also know Dems are saying this is baseless and they can potentially unite on this.
Yeah, look, Democrats have said that they plan to push back on this vehemently, right? We saw yesterday House Democratic leadership have a press conference. Hakeem Jeffries, the leader, the minority leader in the House, the leader of House Democrats, he said we'll defend President Biden until, as long as we need to, right? Democrats are lining up behind the president here. But then again, Republicans are barreling forward with this impeachment inquiry. They are continuing in their investigative efforts. So we're just going to have to see what comes in the months and the weeks ahead. But one thing is for sure, House Democrats are standing behind behind President Biden. And, that also gets into this conversation of whether or not there was going to be a vote to open an impeachment inquiry. It was more than likely that all Democrats would vote no, which means Kevin McCarthy would only have a handful of votes to lose, which is maybe one reason why he went ahead and unilaterally declared it open rather than holding that vote on the floor.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.